This ACT Best Of is brought to you by us, Tom and Dan.
Hi.
And all the different things that you could sign up for that allows you to not only get extra shows, but
just participate.
Private events that we just did. For instance, you could become a subscriber. We call them BDMs. The BDMs know what that stands for.
Yeah, extra parties, extra shows, extra merch. I mean, we have so many things going on with the show, we don't even remember. We have a texting service.
Yeah, let's talk about the texting service. So if to subscribe to our texting service, all you have to do is text BDM, just those three letters, to 844-866-6326. You'll get an instant text back saying now you're a subscriber to our texting service, and we text out different information to BDMs.
Yeah, not a lot of stuff, but like, hey, don't forget this party's coming up, or hey, new merch for BDMs only. Like, little things like that.
Or new bonus show out, or whatever. It's just a way to keep in contact. I know everybody's busy nowadays. It's hard. We also, you can subscribe to our email service at tomanddan.com, or become a BDM at tomanddan.com. And there's a love meter, so you could pick your own subscription, your monthly subscription, and then
I need
be
to
a part
speak
of
on
our
that
group.
for a second. I'm a little disappointed that I see a lot of you changing your subscriptions to $195.
No.
And I also
don't talk about it.
I also look, and you're not out of state. The whole idea was we adjust to $195 when we're out of state. Just understand that I'm not going to do anything.
But some...
And I'm not going to do anything.
Okay.
But I know. I know.
Well,
I'm not going to do anything. I know, though.
Some, just a little higher if the
I know about those too. I know about those too.
So we
see,
and especially every appreciation week, we see who's the true love.
No, all jokes aside, it's fun to have you guys along for the ride. And whether you're down on your luck, not making a lot, transitioning, $195 is purely fine. And if you want to give us $10.95, that's great too. We just like being able to continue to do this for as long as we have, and we hope that you'll continue to come to the parties, have a great time. We were discussing this morning about the entertainment for the next BDM party.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
we got another BDM event coming up later this year.
Thank you for being with us. So check it all out, tomanddan.com. If you ever have any questions, show at tomanddan.com, even if it's with your account. Maybe you have a problem or something. Yeah, hit us up. We'll fix it, man. We're a small business as they come. So thank you, and we appreciate you being here.
Now enjoy this best of. Welcome to Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. We're live on Twitch and YouTube. We'd love it if you join us. Just search for @TomandDanLive. Podcasts are now visual, so head on over there and watch us, and you may be able to see our next guests.
Yep, and we have some guests from the Orange County Regional History Center, thehistorycenter.org, and of course we have Scotty in. How you doing, Scotty?
Hi, everybody.
Got to give you a blast.
Why, thank you.
And Joy Dickerson. How you doing, Joy?
I'm doing good.
And you get a blast as well. Everybody get blast here. Thank you guys for being here.
Joy is going to be speaking on April 27th from 2 to 3, part of the Breckner speaker series that they're doing at the History Center.
Yes, sir.
And Joy, I'm going to go ahead and say it, as a Florida historian that has, she's been writing for the Sentinel for 23 years, Florida Flashback.
Yeah.
And me and Daniel were looking at all the books you published, and me and Daniel love Florida history, so we couldn't wait to talk to you today.
And thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
And oddly, in a weird, sort of related, unrelated note, my mom was a librarian, and one of the things before she passed that she loved so much was collecting Florida murder mysteries.
Oh my God!
Seriously, and there are some that I have at my house. I don't know the names of them because it wasn't my collection, but there are people, like my mom became sort of pseudo-obsessed with people like you that would take stuff we know that is familiar, landmarks, areas, maybe big historical events, sinkholes, alligators, swamps, Ku Klux Klan, hate organization, and you roll it all in, right? You take the South, or what, like we say the South. Florida, I don't even like labeling it the South. It's a weird place. And like here, like my mom started collecting these books, and they're at the time, there weren't many of them. You being a writer, are there a lot more people trying to do what you do and localize the mystery or bring it back to home or write from what they know? Or
Oh, yeah. Well, Florida has always, inspired a lot of mystery fiction. I mean, that people now know Carl Hyacin, who's sort of a genre all himself.
Sure,
but, but for a long time, I mean, there are all kinds of... One of the things that comes to mind is John D. MacDonald, who I think he was mostly in the 70s, but he wrote about 70 books, and he had a hero named Travis McGee who lived on a boat called the Busted Flush in Fort Lauderdale, or something, solved mysteries. And all of the books had a color in the title, like a flash of green or something like that. So he's really sort of the godfather of Florida mysteries. But even Elmore Leonard, who wrote Get Shorty, a lot of his stuff is set in Florida. Miami by itself, is a rich territory for mysteries.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Miami.
Yeah.
Miami has a wild history from the early days to the drug running that built South Beach, and the money that came in the 70s, and it's crazy.
And characters you didn't expect. The time of the cocaine cowboys, and then you had like things that weren't really the norm in other parts, like female cocaine kingpins, like ladies that were in charge of the entire cartel. Like, that wasn't a thing.
It's funny because that's our generation of history of Miami, of like, that's, we're talking about the 70s, but you go back into the 50s, like, and it's totally different. It had nothing to do with like the glitz and glamour of like building up South Florida. But so anyway,
we're excited to have you.
So, Joy,
start yelling all about the history. We're like, she's here.
So I moved up to Central Florida back in 2000. And what me and my wife and Daniel, we've talked about, a lot of people from Central Florida are from different places.
Yeah.
And it's kind of created this area where everybody is from a different area.
Right.
So either from Florida, from a different state and stuff.
It's the same but different for sure.
So it's hard to find someone that's lived here for a long time and knows about the history, and it's kind of like, like a lot of people are like, I moved here, 20 years ago, or, but you moved here back in 1949, correct?
Yeah, I was a kid. Yeah.
And
where from? Where were you coming from?
Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Steel country then.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of Central Florida's history. What got you into even writing about history and researching it and knowing about it?
I studied history at Florida State, and history and English. And when I was a young person, I worked at a place. I worked in Williamsburg at the place called the Institute of Early American History.
Okay.
And so I took courses, but then I didn't really use that for a long time. But years later, I ended up at the Sentinel. People that work in publishing, it seems to me sometimes one thing leads to another. I went to work at the Sentinel to work in their book division.
Okay.
This was in the 90s. So it was sort of an accident in some ways that I ended up at the newspaper. I was one of only a couple of people in the newsroom when I was there who hadn't had a journalism degree. So I started out in publishing. And they always had a history column at the Sentinel. I mean, going way back, and there's a whole story behind that. But a couple of great guys named Mark Andrews and Jim Robinson had been writing a history column there, and different history columns about different counties. And they had to really, they had other duties that demanded more work. It was always sort of on the side. And so I was able to sort of step in and help because I had a background in history, but not so much. I was old enough when I started it that a lot of the stuff I drew on were things that I could remember, really.
Yeah.
As a precocious kid, I guess. I mean, I could sort of remember what downtown in the 50s was like. And they had focused more on the frontier times, but when I did it, I sort of started focusing more on mid-century, mid-20th century, the 50s, the 60s, that sort of stuff.
That's an interesting connection that you like your version of the column, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it, is to me a little more exciting because you were there, like, or it's something that maybe you didn't necessarily witness it, but you were alive and are able to then go find the facts or track it down, versus like getting the tall tale or getting the version of it that just got passed down through the frontier.
Right, and people would tell me things. People would, write and tell me things and stories that they remembered. So I'd draw it, but it was people who were still alive.
Sure.
Some of whom have moved on now, but a lot of stuff about mid-century, the 40s, 50s, 60s, on up.
So let's talk about that, because it's interesting when like Disney moved into town. It kind of put Orlando on the map. And you were around at that time. Do you remember the sentiment of Disney coming into town? Like what people were talking about? Whether I'm sure there was people that didn't want Disney here. You know what I'm saying? Like, did everybody agree? Like, hey, this is good for the economy.
I think so. I mean, I think any biting and fighting probably happened about the whole thing about the whole land deal around Disney was secret. So who made money and who didn't make money? Because who didn't know to sell their land or to hold out.
When we post on social media about Disney, we'll get people who are still bitter about that.
So explain that to people who don't know what.
The Disney Corporation, I can't remember the guy's name, but they even I think it was Donovan, was a guy who'd been in the CIA that worked for them, and that they were very secretive when they started buying up all this land. This is the size of Manhattan Island. This would have been, I guess in the early 60s. I don't know if they started any in the 50s or not. So they knew they wanted to acquire this huge piece of property. So they started, before anybody knew that their land might be really valuable for more than ranch land, down in Osceola County, they started buying up parcels of land. So it was a big secret. And
were they doing that so that
they were doing it so they could get the land cheap?
Yeah, so the other
was involved.
the other landowners.
This is what I do at estate sales. Like I'm walking around, I'm like, is that a Joe Montana rookie card? Let's just, 12 cents. I'll give you 12 cents.
Yeah. So it was strategic to save the money. And they wanted as much land as possible because if they didn't get like 100 acres here and they needed it, and they found out, this is all Disney. They're like that 100 acres. Like I want 100 times what you offer me, right?
Yeah. But at the time, I mean, it seems so quaint now in some ways. But Walt Disney had a show that was on Sunday night, and I mean, Walt would introduce it, but then they'd show movies and stuff from the Disney. And documentaries and everything, and everybody watched it. I mean, everybody watched it. So, when they announced that they were gonna build Disneyland in California, that was a big deal. And then, I think I don't think people probably realized what a big effect it was going to have. And there are some historians who theorize that, and I think there's a good case for it, that actually the coming of the Martin Company to Orlando in the 50s had as big an effect as Disney, but in different ways.
That's the potato roll, people.
That's a big...
No, I made that up. It's a comedy show. I got to throw these in occasionally. We love our history, but we got to do some silly.
I know. It's Martin Marietta. It's a space company. When they came here, they brought all kinds of people who were engineers, highly educated. It was connected to Cape Canaveral, so it really, a lot of people came here, and it changed a lot.
We had a ton of military companies. I remember as a young, I was born in '76. I remember up the street we had Martin Marietta, and you had Brunswick was another, DuPont. We had all these companies that were known for like either industry or war or guns or bombs or chemicals or paint or...
Well, there's so much change. And I mean, we're sitting in old Navy base. The Baldwin Park was the Navy base. Well, and
before that, it was an Air Force base.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, right. I mean, it started out in World War II as an Air Force base. I mean, Scotty has links to that. So
Dad was in the Air Force. Yeah.
Right.
That's actually Baldwin Park is part of the reason why my dad chose here to retire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Being able to have those benefits and then took that.
Oh, right. Oh,
Now
my
he goes
God. I
to
didn't even think
McCoy,
about that.
you know,
Oh,
to-
wow.
yeah.
It was an air base, and it was the first air base in Orlando, and then Pine Castle, which became the
Right.
the airport. Eventually, was the second. So anyway,
So you've seen things morph and morph and morph. And what's the greatest loss? What have we lost that you feel? If you could like bring it back, what would you bring
that's a
back?
big question.
Well, I heard you speak, Joy.
Ronnie's.
That's a great answer.
Everybody wants Ronnie's back.
Yeah.
Hold on,
I
what's
mean, everybody
Ronnie?
who's sort of old enough.
Like
It was.
diner style, right? Like
Yeah, it was
our-
this great deli that was here for 40 years. Started in the 50s, closed in the 90s. It was in Colonial Plaza.
Before
It
my
was
time.
It was sort of a classic Jewish deli based on Wolfie's in Miami.
Okay.
But it had a bakery, and it was a fascinating place. Everybody went there. I mean, it was just kids after their prom went there. Politicians went there to make deals.
I can't
was a
visualize
real-
it, but I'm pretty sure in our current exhibit, Orlando Collected, there's Ronnie's
I think there's
things.
something.
But
Yeah,
I
I
can't
think I remember seeing
But I
something.
think,
Yeah.
I think
We have one of their big signs, but
Yeah.
it needs some refurbishment.
it's one of the places. It's just one of those lost sort of centers of community
Yeah.
that people always are of a certain age, old.
No,
Think
no,
about
no.
think about. But I do think that. I mean, we have so many great restaurants and things, but it's really hard to find that many institutions where people are like, we took Mom out here for Mother's Day, and and we're still going. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
that's hard to find.
I had one loaded and it went away. I'm from DeLand, so I mean I was born in Gainesville, but only because I was premature. My parents lived in DeLand. Now Shands was a specialty hospital, but we had Holiday House,
oh yeah.
and with Easter coming
we used
around,
to have Holiday House here.
You did,
We'd
and-
always go and
and-
get the lamb. That was a big deal.
Oh, with the Mangeli. This was my connection to
Right.
Orlando, thinking that, and the
Right.
Cooks family and that family, and I knew them
know.
personally, and they all fought, and some of them took Holiday House.
There's still one in DeLand.
There's Cooks, yeah.
Cooks, which is they still have the lamb.
It's close, it's very similar, but yeah, that
Yeah.
was Holiday House is like that was and
Right.
and when it went away and those little chalky men, so I was like, oh, God bless you, Holiday House, bye bye, see ya.
Joy, I heard you do a talk about Winter Park and about people wanting to move to Winter Park because of the architecture and the old houses. And then when they move, they demolish them and build McMansions because they're like, these rooms are small. Yeah, of course they are. It's
Why
built
is this
in
house
the,
so creaky
in the
and
30s.
old?
And then
I had one of the old
and I see it.
off of Corinne. I had one of the old officer quarters, the little
really?
a little 990 bungalow.
Oh, my
favorite
gosh.
house. My favorite house.
You know what got me, Joy,
That's so
is
cool.
like I live down Lakemont on the Castleberry side, so I come down,
knows.
and right next to the YMCA, there was like a historic plaque in an old house there, and they demolished everything. Like it is funny because I thought that it was a historic site because it looked like a gravestone almost, and it made
terrible.
and it was kind of like a small statue on the side of the road on Lakemont, and then they tore it all down and they're building a McMansion. And then I was like, man, like this is what happens where slowly they start taking history away, and then you start taking the history of Orlando away, and then people forget, generations.
Yeah.
And I was like, nothing.
Where's
looks
the
at-
balance, or how
Yeah.
do you balance that when you want to protect some things, but you also
You're
get a lot of people.
You're asking big questions.
Sorry, Joy.
We're just excited to have you in
That's a
here.
big
Like
question.
when
No.
we have real adults in here, because
I-
normally we just make fart jokes all day, and we get like a smart real adult in
Hey,
here.
we can tell fart
Scotty
jokes.
brings us his
We can
favorite
still-
smart people, and then I'm like, there's smart people here. Ask them all the good questions.
No, but that's a huge question. I mean, what do you keep? What do you? Isn't it a question for all of us? What do you keep? What do
Yeah.
you get rid of?
Yeah.
It's what do I treasure? What do I keep? But it is, I think, a particular ironic quality of a town, say like Winter Park, that's based on historic charm, where people do move in and then, buy an old place and then decide that they need something that's 40,000 square feet
Yeah,
or
they
something,
do. Like,
instead.
I always joke about it with my wife, but I know people that move to the brick roads with the big older homes, and then they're mad about the
brick
roads.
roads, yeah.
And I'm like, I hate the roads too. I wouldn't buy one of those. Like you got, if you don't like that, you don't buy that.
I like the way it looks. I don't want to drive them.
Pave over it. It's like, no,
my Tesla's too heavy.
Yeah, I'm an advocate for historic preservation, so it's sort of dear to my heart. But I think it's when you save a building, there's hardly any. I don't know anybody who's ever regretted saving a great building or a great. Or
That's a good way of putting
sometimes you can't save everything, and you have to make hard choices. I mean, one now in downtown Orlando, I'm thinking it's real near the library. There's a 10-story building that began in the 1920s as the Masonic Lodge, and it's probably going to have to go in order to make a new entrance to Lake Eola. And but there's a really distinguished house right next to it, the Spanish Mediterranean house, that I would argue for trying to keep.
Yeah.
So sometimes, you have to make hard choices.
It's cool that we have people like you, though, and others that will actually try to put light on these things, because if we don't put the light on them, the History Center, there's our big plug. But if we don't talk about these sort of things, then they do go to the wayside. We've learned so much just by working with you, Scotty, everybody at the History Center, on just some of the things that we need to be a little more, a little more mindful to,
right.
Because again, it's, I don't know, the collective it's such a cool thing to,
and so Joey,
I'm word salading a little bit. But.
There's the iconic Central Florida cities that everybody knows, but then there's outside surrounding places that people don't know the history behind, let's say Winter Garden. Yeah. And I know you've written about Winter Garden a lot, and it's people I know where Winter Garden is, but they don't know the history behind it. So could you tell us anything about surrounding areas? Yeah.
Oh, well, Winter Garden's fascinating and sort of has benefited from really not. I mean, there was a time when the main street there was just pretty deserted and everything, but it hadn't attracted developers anyway. So it was sort of a happy accident in some ways that that little Main Street area got saved. But a couple of things. I mean, it was the biggest citrus capital for a long time, and there are a couple of railroad stations there. But there was, I think, maybe in the 40s, more citrus was shipped out of Winter Garden than any place in the nation.
It was all orange groves.
It was the center. It was one of the big centers of the of the citrus industry. A lot of the families there had groves and packing houses.
Almost all my posters, my daughter's, when she, she's 9 now, but her room originally was all done in old Florida posters. And,
cool.
And I would find them online and then illegally print them at Kinko's, which you're not supposed to do.
Don't tell Kinko's.
But most of them were from a Winter Garden area, and you'd see the family names. And they were all from that area, and it was big business, big bright orange colors in
the citrus labels. Yeah, that's beautiful. A whole wonderful source of art.
So beautiful.
With the labels that they used on the crates and sort of function as an ad.
Yeah, and they got spicier too. You could see the change, and then they started adding nothing too far, but they started adding ladies with a little a 2 inches of midriff showing. I'm whoa, seriously, and they're in a bikini holding the orange crate, and I'm like, whoa, what are you doing here?
Or they had the pirates, and they're talking about booty and things.
Yeah. They
scantily clad mermaids.
Yeah. They just kind of ramp it up a little. What's going to sell these oranges?
Did you know the citrus? Do you know about the citrus disease that's affecting all our citrus here in Florida?
I do, and it's I don't know much about it, but I heard it's just devastating.
Yeah, my buddy the Wizard said that in a couple decades, no more citrus will ever be produced in Florida because the disease is taken over, and it's all going to be in Mexico, California.
Why the hell did you bring up that sad fact? You're bumming me out.
It's some sort of citrus disease.
I think it's called the greening or something.
I don't know. That sounds like a horrible horror movie.
It does like a horror movie.
And they can't get rid of it. And it's just affecting, and it's shutting down the citrus economy.
I thought you were going to ask about Anita Bryant when she and Disney did Orange Bird, and she was on the Citrus Council.
Yeah.
And I have the record of that.
Oh, do you?
In my daughter's room. It's all part of the theme.
Oh, my
And then
gosh.
we get a little more digging into Anita and some of
She's not.
Yeah,
some of
Anita.
her
She was
thoughts.
not cool.
And she's
Yeah.
extremely anti-gay.
Yeah, and
Like,
Anita.
not a good person.
Orange Bird is great.
Orange Bird's
Bird's
fine.
awesome.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know this. Orange Bird
Orange
is gay.
Bird is his own person.
He's gay.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like, yeah.
And he's
Anita
gay.
Bryant, not good. He is. He's a little orange man with a little green.
He's made several statements against her.
Yeah, he really has. I'm glad he's outspoken, that Orange Bird. He's like, yeah, I took too many pictures with this woman.
Orange Bird you can find in our exhibits.
Oh, that's awesome.
Two different places, I think.
Yeah, like you did come to the right place, because if you're going to start talking about Florida history, we're happy to have you.
We should talk about what are you
wanna hit
going
her
to be
book?
talking about for your
What am I going to be
yeah.
talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah.
Well, it's an illustrated talk. I mean, one of the things I really, when I wrote my column in the Sentinel, I think focused as much on the picture that was going to go with it as what it was going to say, and tried to really loved researching pictures. So I'm going to show pictures. Sweet. Aim to show 150 pictures to go with 150 years of Orlando's history since its incorporation as a town. Starting, early on, and pictures and people who were influential, try to sort of spin the story of Orlando through these images.
I love it. I love the one that's even on the History Center website, where it's like it appears to be something that you would be doing, just sitting on the back of an alligator, but it appears to be
on the back of the alligator.
That's the photo that was used for out in front of the History
Yeah.
Center. We have a statue, and that's the photo that was
no
used.
way.
Yeah, we'll spend a little time on that, and I've been trying to think if there was any more iconic photo. I mean, it's from the 1880s, but I can't think of one that's and I love the story of the guy who took it, who was named the photographer, which not that many people know, but it's a guy named Stanley Morrow, who really came from the West. He photographed most of his career. He photographed Native Americans and battle scenes and the West, and came through here and took all these great pictures of Orlando, because it was a frontier too. It was like it was not that much different from where he went in North Dakota and other places in a lot of ways.
And it's interesting, because I feel like younger generations, like my sons, because of AI and all these fake photos, like they'll see a photo from the 1800s and immediately just think it's fake. Because there's so many doctored fake photos now, that it's like it doesn't even seem real.
Facebook got me the other day with Florida history, Cypress Garden, the Florida-shaped pool.
Oh yeah.
I think it was out of Cypress Gardens. The Florida-shaped pool. I thought that was fake. I was like, "What? That's
that was real.
That's 100% real." And
that
then
was real. Made for Esther Williams.
Yeah. Oh, that was beautiful. But the photos, if you look at one now, you're like, "Well, how the hell they keep it on the side of the swamp without all the concrete crumbling?"
We just had that tournament at Rio Pinar Golf, and apparently they had a Florida-shaped pool.
Yeah, they had a Florida-shaped pool
one time,
too.
but they filled it in for some reason.
But it's such a fascinating
Florida-shaped pools are awesome.
AI and that whole thing about your kids not knowing about what's a real historic photo and the ability to sort of create them. I was never that much of a fan of colorizing old photos for that reason, but I mean there are certain things where it's good, but
interesting. Yeah, I wasn't either. It's funny, like I'm all in on the AI now because I use it to, make my life a little easier here at the studio. But colorizing films, or when who was doing that at the time? Oh, it was what's his name in Atlanta? It was Turner. Turner.
They would do like colorized version of It's a Wonderful Life,
or
something like that.
I think my dad threw a fit. He was very angry.
Well, it also just looked weird.
It just looked weird.
It's because it's not real color, right?
I agree with you.
Joy, is there anything about Central Florida and its history that you find other people find super interesting that they didn't know? Like any facts that people don't know and like it's not talked about? Anything come to mind? Well,
this sort of brings us back to what we started with, was the crime thing. But I'm finding increasingly that we were talking about Miami, which a lot of people do know about, but Orlando had its share of sort of organized crime too, going back, much less sort of flamboyant, but we had a organized crime here led by the local guy who was the leader was named Harlan Blackburn.
Okay.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was sort of-
there's a name.
Harlan
That's
Blackburn?
the name
I'm
you couldn't make up
Harlan
as a character
Blackburn.
yeah, he was, and they actually called it. I mean, I don't know if they called it at the time, but historically, historians call it the Cracker Mafia. Which is a whole side topic too
Right.
about
Sounds
the
like
use
a-
of the word cracker for Florida, not as an epithet.
Conservative rap group.
As Florida, but yeah, and so there was this illegal lottery here called Bolita, and where people bet numbers. People bet numbers every week, and I'm talking 50s, 40s. 40s, 50s.
And like in the Tampa area too, they
Oh
would do
yeah,
that.
yeah. So people would bet on numbers. And the numbers, the bolita meant little ball, and they would they would draw little balls with numbers on them. So
This is similar to the Florida lottery.
It's very similar to the Florida lottery. So, but it was.
We stole the Florida lottery
But
from the
that's what it
Spanish.
is.
It was called Bolita at one point.
Oh
and we
yeah,
just stole
absolutely.
It. We're just like, here.
And so the mob and everything were. They had their hands in all of that.
crazy.
It sounds like another book here.
I'll plug your book.
I do talk about it in the
Plug your
secret.
book.
Yes. In the secrets of the Flamingo Cafe.
Yeah, Secrets of the Flamingo Cafe. Oh, that looks good, man. Good branding. My mom would be all over
I
that.
our
got my
friend Rick did
flamingo
that.
glasses.
Our friend Rick did the cover. So
Put my glasses on.
Oh, Rick has been on the show.
yeah, Rick has been. You said Rick has been on. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we've had Rick on.
My
there.
friend Rick did the cover. So.
Oh, fantastic.
So, what is the secrets of Flamingo Cafe about?
He can't read.
It's about an artist who moves here from New York. She thinks she's not going to stay very long. Her aunt has died. Turns out her aunt probably didn't die in an accident. She remembers when in her youth she tangled her own aunt tangled with the Ku Klux Klan. There's a young boy in it who's selling Bolita tickets. And,
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
so
this sounds
he's-
awesome.
Yeah.
He's what they call a runner. He comes and takes your bets every week.
I'm familiar with the
It's
runner.
like
Everybody with a runner.
he's addicted with gambling. No, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, they
That's
still
100%.
have runners, by the way, and it's what in sports gambling, it's what you call people that will go and bet for you at different, sports books.
Oh,
You send a runner.
Well, all these folks end up at a place called the Flamingo Cafe, which actually existed in Orlando, not far from here at all. It was on the real place was on Colonial Drive, sort of near where the Olive Garden is now, except on the other side. I mean, like right near where McGuire comes into Colonial.
Okay.
So just not very far from here. That was the city limits then. So this big nightclub opened in the 29 and went on for a long time, but it had gambling in the back room, sort of secret casino gambling in the back room. So, I mean, the version in my book is highly glamorized in essence and run by a much more glamorous owner than in real life, but it was a real place.
That's
With real
awesome.
gambling in the back room.
Yeah, I love this, man. This is gritty.
Joy, would you mind if I told you about some of Florida history that I know about it? But it's ridiculous.
No, this is what makes my...
Okay, so
All right.
so
And
my
she can fact check you.
my-
That's what makes it fun,
Feel
yeah.
free
So,
to say
my
if
gr-
anything you hear is BS.
my
you can just yell it.
my grandfather grew up in Miami, went to Miami High, and ended up getting trained for World War II in Florida, or whatever. And so he bought a place off the Loop Road in the Everglades, and between Tamiami Churchill and Miami and Naples. And in the back, it was these stairs. And I remember as a kid growing up, I used to go out there every weekend, and they used to have these Al Capone stairs from
wow.
his hideout. And it turns out some historian came down from the college and
The College of Fake Stories.
You can look up Al Capone stairs off Loop Road, Florida.
He also has Pretty Boy Floyd's top hat.
and
They got them all.
And they verified it was
Yeah, I
old
think this
hideout.
one is true. I think this one is true.
in the Everglades, and it's crazy. Tying back to mobsters and stuff, like there were a lot of mobsters back in Florida, and like this is pre-cocaine cowboys.
It's a nice place to hide out.
Because it was like kind of a a swamp wilderness that you could go to hide. It was like the Australia of the United States. Just like
sort of.
You would run there, and then also my wife's grandfather. And this is bizarre too. Like he worked for the Deltona Corporation and then built Marco Island. His name was Herb Savage, and it was basically developed Deltona, and then the Deltona Corporation developed Marco Island.
I didn't know that.
And then
it was the Mackel brothers, right?
Yeah, the Mackel brothers, and then it was like the 1950s
like in Deltona,
and 60s.
You have the road Elkham. That's Mackel.
Backwards, yeah. They had Providence.
Wow, that's cool.
The same names.
He taught me all of this. I thought he used to. He's a liar most of the time. No, I'm joking. No, he taught me all of this.
Me and my wife randomly end up living in Deltona.
True
we had
story.
no idea about her grandfather's.
Didn't she start asking her grandma or something?
Well, no, they were at the time. They're like, "Oh, you live in Deltona? Well, we built that." I'm like, "You built Deltona? It stinks." But at that it was all like Marco Island. I was like, why'd you make it like Marco Island? They're way better than Marco Island.
Yeah.
It's a paradise.
There's a reason Dog the Bounty Hunter didn't move to Deltona. He moved to Marco Island like a month ago.
But there's, so many interesting places in Florida and like the history. And it's funny because when I was young, it kind of takes age to appreciate history.
It does.
It's like when I was in my 20s, I didn't even come close to appreciating it much now in my 40s.
Yeah.
And then like I've been here in Central Florida for 25 years, and then I'm telling people like I remember when UCF was just a bunch of trailers, and they were building buildings everywhere. I went there in 2000. I'm like, it was nothing compared to what it is now.
Yeah.
And then like young students are like, all right, old man. They're like, we realize everything starts from nothing. but it's like, and then people tell me about Cimarron, and it was just like cow pastures. Basically from the airport on, it didn't even get developed. And it's like, and
I can't even imagine that.
And these are old pictures that you've had, you from your book, History Photos of Orlando.
Oh yeah,
like that. When you see those photos, it's almost like you can't even believe they're real. When you're like, here's a picture of Mills 50 back in the 30s or whatever, and it's just like, wow, it's crazy.
And again, you're going to try to do 150 photos,
right?
And so you can be a part of something like this, and you can go and check it out. Sit and watch the photos. Think about history. Think about why you should love it, like Tom and I do.
And so, Joy, is there anything that like a particular story about? Do you remember when they built the Citrus Bowl? And like, was there because it seems like, when was that built, in the 70s?
I don't know
like
much
Camping World now, but
I don't know much about any of that. I just remember it's always been here.
It's always been. I mean, I can remember when it used to be called the Tangerine Bowl. I can. It just kept getting bigger, but it was always there. I mean, going way back, but no, that is not. I am not that versed on that.
It just seems like stadium. It never really did. Like,
I can remember going to games there.
It was like Tangerine, Citrus, and then it just kind of like...
The first Tangerine Bowl was like in the 40s, 49 or something like that. I mean, the first... I think it was a charity event sponsored by the Elks or something like that. But that stadium, a tiny version of it, was always there. And anyhow, I can remember as a cheerleader running, decorating the goalposts back in odd 8.
Wow, man!
I didn't, decorate in odd 8 or whatever.
Yeah,
for games there, Boone Edgewater and that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's amazing. I'm partial to the soccer stadium now. I'm telling Scott.
Yeah.
I like that because that's a manageable size. You can. I enjoy that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one.
Go
Like
Pride.
Yeah,
Go Pride.
Yeah,
Marta. Yeah.
Well, we have a hell of a team, man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
and Seb Hines. Shout out to Seb, great
Oh, yeah.
coach.
Yeah,
we love our
absolutely.
Seb Hines.
Yeah.
And again, Joey is going to be talking April 27th at the History Center from 2 to 3.
Yeah, go be a part of it. Check it out.
That's
yeah.
a free program. We just ask that you register in advance for it.
Okay, just have to go online and register at thehistorycenter.org.
Scotty, you always bring us the coolest people, man. Thank you so much.
What can I say?
And Joey,
I like
it's
to
so
connect
nice
the
to
dots.
meet you.
It's very nice to meet
Yeah.
you guys.
Well,
I
we
love it.
We didn't, he always brings us like cool people. Hey, she's gonna talk to you about some cool history. Like we're all in for stuff like that because
You all know a lot.
Well, this is because of Scotty.
yes, I wasn't lying to you. It's because of everything
Ever
we
since
have
our
learned.
relationship with the History Center.
No, but while you're talking about your family stuff and your own stories, it's cool.
Well, his
Well,
grandfather
I like
also
to talk
told
about
him he
my
was
s-
Native American.
Oh, you
Like
know about
every
that.
good white person in
Yeah,
Florida
yeah.
tells their other white
Yeah.
people
Oh,
in their family
my-
that they're Native American. Everybody does.
My middle I named my son after me.
he has a Native American name.
My middle name is Chisholm, and I did a presentation in elementary school where I was like, my great
you probably wore a feather, didn't you? You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to wear a feather.
Was Joseph Chisholm from the Chisholm Trail, and then my elementary school teacher was like, "Oh yeah, it must be
yeah.
real." It was before anybody could verify anything,
Yeah,
and then
No, your son's gonna go up there. I'm related to Black Panther or something. It's just you can't do that, man.
And you know what it was? It's DNA testing. We took a DNA test, and I'm like, no Native American. Oh, yeah, I'm from Europe, like every other white
but
dude.
then I argued to him because when you look it up, and I actually went to the house, the Chief Van house that's in Georgia. There was
My last name is Van.
and there was a chief that was a Native
Yeah.
American. He wasn't truly Native American. He was half Native American,
Oh, yeah.
Irish.
yeah, right.
So,
It's half, but no.
so I'm thinking
yeah.
that maybe you could have been on that other
well,
side.
that's true. That's true even of Osceola, the famous warrior Osceola. I mean, he was part Scottish, I think.
But yeah, and it's funny because ever since then, my whole life I believed I was some Native American
Yeah.
heritage, and then
He has a
I don't think it
tattoo.
is. I'm none of it.
He has a tattoo of a giant,
Listen, though,
two
I
horses,
heard-
palominos racing on the back of his back.
That happened to me too, because there was a story in my family that on my father's side that somebody way back had married a Native American, and I was disappointed too with the DNA, but I heard. And I'm not going to remember this right, that it may be that the DNA tests they do now just don't go far back enough to capture
That's
that.
what you
I
said.
don't know.
That's what you said.
Well, that's what we all think because people want
He
to
told me
believe.
he was so authentic Native American that to test it, you can't. It's untestable.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Well, I've heard that too.
Yeah.
But part of the history of why so many people in Florida had Native American background was there was a time where the people just told that because
Yeah.
it was like
Because it's cooler than being white.
yeah, but also it was like it's, bravery and rebellion, and it was like having Native American blood was like considered like you were more brave,
You're more
and-
exotic.
and like you didn't follow the government as much. You know, it was like you were more
Yeah.
A
rebellious,
renegade.
a renegade.
Yeah,
you know,
a
it's like-
renegade.
so it
I
was
like
like
that.
you told people like, "Oh, I have Native American," and then all of a sudden it just after
You're an Indian
generations-
outlaw.
Yeah.
Part Cherokee and Choctaw.
And
My baby, she's a Chippewa.
yeah.
She's
But
a
anyway,
one of a kind.
Joy,
Tim
thank
McGraw.
you so much for
Okay.
coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you all. And
Yeah.
tomahawk chop.
You can't do that nowadays.
Oh my God, Joy, what have you done?
I'm
No,
sorry.
no,
Go brave,
Sorry.
go brave.
No,
I'm
this
sorry.
show you can do it.
I went to Florida State. What can
Yeah,
I do?
Yeah, she's allowed. She's
They still
allowed.
do it there. I was
Canceled right before you.
Oh, they
Cancel.
do. Kansas City does
I
it.
get your show canceled right before.
No, that doesn't
You're
exist,
fine,
Joy.
you're fine.
We're all
You should have heard
amongst
what we were
friends.
doing before you got here. You're totally fine, Joy. All
Scotty,
right,
thanks so
Joy,
much.
you
Oh,
guys
thank
are the
you.
best. History Center,
Cool.
go there, support, become a member, support, and go to the website and see if you can fit in some events.
And also remember, every third Thursday, you can go to the History Center for free.
Yeah, 5 to 9.
And if you want to check out the History Center for free, but my recommendation, just become a member.
Just sign up.
Because you have access to all these great things and talks.
Well, then
and-
you won't miss out.
Yeah.
You'll always know that you're ready to go. So
Yeah, and the Orlando Orlando Collected is going on right now.
Yep.
It's 150 items based on 150 years of
We have
Florida,
items.
Orlando. Yeah.
Yeah,
there
and
as well.
our curator, so is Joy.
Yeah,
So
Joy's in there. You can. I bet hers is way better than ours.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Corporate Time. Welcome to Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. We are live on Twitch and YouTube. Come check us out. Just search for @Tom and Dan Live. Tons of videos on there. We stream every single day. If you miss a show, it's all there. Thousands of hours of content you don't need, and it's all there.
A couple things from our sponsors. The History Center is starting their new exhibit, the Collected.
Sounds kind of spooky like that, right? Collected. It's the Collected.
Which is a bunch of different things that local, I guess, Central Floridian.
Floridians, luminaries, people of interest, who's.
Pick some things, including me and Daniel, for this exhibit, and that starts April 12th.
Yes.
And also the Science Center is doing the Science of Wine on April 26th. You can get your tickets right on their website.
Talk to Jeff after this whole beer fest thing. Seems like Jeff's leaning into next we're going to be doing the science of medical marijuana. Oh, look at that. The science of mushrooms. All right. The science of fun. But check out all of those events because they're really, really good. I want to give you a choice today for Weird Job Wednesday because I know you're big on doing like new themes and stuff like that. I did get one from a listener. And
really?
And he used AI.
Oh, okay. Now the listeners are using it.
And this is why they shouldn't.
Okay, all right.
Okay?
All right.
Because I'm just going to show you the difference between one that's written, I'm using air quotes, one that's produced by a listener just by saying, hey, write a song for Weird Job Wednesday for Tom and Dan. Here's some things about Tom and Dan. This is what you get, and this is why this is not good. It's not good. Intro's too long. First of all, intro's too long.
Gig on a midweek day. Tom hates fat slobs. That's his play.
Tom does not hate fat slobs. That's not his play. That doesn't even make any sense. Job on a Wednesday.
I like a synth pop.
I do like this. It's called like what do they call it? The synth wave? I believe that's known as synth wave.
Right.
But these lyrics are just abysmal.
Dan tired of Tom's crap all along. Missing Sam, it all feels wrong.
I mean, we have to do it. It doesn't feel wrong.
Is this AI or is this something? Did he do it himself?
No, this is AI.
Oh, okay.
This is everything is AI now, man. Everything is AI.
But the voice sounds like he did it himself.
That's what old men say about AI. This is what old people say about AI. They sound like a real human. You want a little more?
Right.
Or do you want me to cleanse your palate with a good song?
Yeah, let me hear a little more.
A little more.
Yeah.
All right, a little more.
Telephone ringing, chaos free. Piled up papers, can't break free. Clear out lockers, clean up time.
We've never cleaned up here. Not even one time.
Why did you just put the lyrics of Weird Job Wednesday in there? It seems so much easier.
People, you have to write the lyrics. Here, let me cleanse your palate with a real song.
Right.
Because if you're going to use AI to write a song, you can't use their lyrics. You have to write your own lyrics. And I like surprising Tom with funny songs. And this one's a bit of I call this one a jezelneck. Might be a little of a... At the end, takes you on a little turn.
You big, disgusting, gross tub of shit. I hired you to do a job, but on your ass you sit. So pack your things in this little box. It's time for you to go. I never thought I'd fire my wife from the Tom and Dan radio show.
See what I did there? See what I did there? I called my wife a fat, disgusting tub of crap. And I said I fired her from the show. How crazy is that?
That is crazy.
That's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah. I feel like these songs get more and more embarrassing in front of our guests.
Yes.
Where they're like, what does this have to do with anything?
Nothing. It's just I feel at this point, it's like one of those games you play at a retreat as an icebreaker to kind of like, okay, now that our guard's down, let's get to work.
Okay, all right, yeah. We shocked you and confused you.
Yeah, shock and awe.
Yeah.
Toby Keith.
All right, on the line with us, this is another weird job from my phone.
This is
as I scroll through.
I'm going to go one further. This is an Orlando, and this is not a mock, this is real stuff. This is an Orlando sport legend.
Yes.
This is someone that we worked with. Hundreds of hours put in, this man was underappreciated. I said it. I'll say it again. This man was underappreciated for what he did for that franchise. I'll say it from the mountain.
Here's another fact. This man married me 18 years ago.
Yes, he did.
18 years ago.
Yes.
We were around in March,
and you know
actually.
what? Some people may not have appreciated how hard he worked, but I'll tell you one thing. Dan Dennis and Drunky the Bear appreciated him.
We've got Alan on the line. You may know him as Claw from the Orlando Predators.
Hey!
How you doing, Alan?
Yeah, you doing great. How you doing, guys?
Man, it's really good to talk to you. And you know what? I remember the first time Tom introduced me to you and the idea of a man that made his own costume.
Mascot.
Like, you made your own mascot costume, and it was a high-quality, badass, like, it's an iconic, in Orlando history, it is an iconic piece of our history. In fact, we were just talking about the Orlando History Collected, like, you know,
the History Center. Yeah.
I'm thinking Claw Mask should be in there, dude. And I'm thinking I might have to talk to Scotty today and talk to Claw and see if we can connect the dots.
So, Alan, how are you doing?
Doing great, actually. You mentioned the history thing. A few years ago, we actually displayed one of my chess pieces from my costume of the History Center.
Oh, that's
really?
awesome, man. Really, really cool.
So, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So, Alan, we'll get into making mascot costumes in a minute, but I want to talk to you about the Orlando Predators because I don't know the background of how you became I guess. I always looked at it as the official mascot, but I remember Brett Bushy being mad because he's like, Alan owns the rights to Claw. And he was so mad about it. And he was like, I want to get a new one, but the fans love Claw too much.
Claw. It's the motorcycle. Hey, when you came out on the motorcycle, Alan, you sealed the deal for me, man. I was like, this is my mascot.
So how'd you even start doing that?
Well, it happened long before Bushy got there, obviously.
Yeah.
In the fall of 93, a couple of my buddies who I was training with a stunt team because, you know, I wanted to do more film work, and that's where I originally started heading that direction. And what ended up happening was there was a rappel team, and in the off season it split into two. And basically, I was with this one group. The other group didn't have a mascot. You know, they didn't have a guy like me. So you know, we went in and gave them a proposal. And at first, they couldn't find a sponsor to pay for the suit, which, you know, a lot of times sports organizations will do, to circumvent the costs a little bit. But what ends up happening is, they couldn't afford me. They said they couldn't afford me. And I said, well, okay, fine. I like the idea. My brother was a season ticket holder the year before, and I hadn't even really gotten into arena football because I was a film, guy, mascot builder, all this other thing. And I thought, this could be a really cool social experiment, to climb into this costume that I'm going to create. And so what I did was I said, look, I'm going to bring you a mascot, and we'll show it, to the fans. The fans like it. You pay me, per game. And if they don't, I walk. You haven't lost anything. So ultimately what ends up happening is it became a huge hit right from the get-go. And by then, the horse was already out of the barn. So I owned it, and, that's just the way it's been all this time.
Also, Tom and I really love when, like, the stars align. And what I mean by that is you're at a time when arena football, I think people were thirsty for it. We really wanted it.
Oh, in the 90s, it was at the height.
And we were the luckiest city, I believe, because I don't think there was a team. There were some good ones, but, man, the Predators were kind of the team. And the way that we partied and everything around that time, but also the movie Predator was so friggin' popular. In my house, my dad, we've watched that movie 100 times. That had to have played into the popularity of the mascot. People were like, oh my God, this is amazing. Because you never had like a big movie, scary kind of a creature used as a mascot. At least I didn't remember.
Yeah. It's always kid-friendly.
Yeah, this was a newer thing. Like normally you get like, we're the Greyhounds, and I'm Buckeye Bruce. No. This was a flesh-eating alien.
Yeah.
That's pretty
I was
neat.
not cute and fuzzy, that's for sure. But what I was doing was, after seeing one of the playoff games in '93, I'm like, if I'm going to build this mascot, it's got to protect me first from the fans. So, because the fans were so rowdy, it was such a cool game to watch.
Did it feel good for you?
Yeah. Back then in the 90s, I mean, they were flashing. It was a party.
Yeah. But the other thing that was crazy?
Claw's seen some teas.
Oh, Claw has put
I signed more boobs than Howard Stern ever dreamt of.
I know you did. And you know what? It's no exaggeration. People would just line up to get their photo made with Claw and pull their teas out.
Yeah.
It was just a different time.
Yeah.
And another thing that's interesting
God, I love the 90s.
About Claw is that, like, did you always have the motorcycle part of the gimmick?
Well, I've been riding motorcycles since the 70s. I was a teenager in the 70s.
Sure.
And I've ridden motorcycles forever. We did stuff on motorcycles that some stuntmen thought we were crazy doing back then. And I combined my love of motorcycles. I was a monster kid growing up, and if you know what a monster kid is, we love Frankenstein, Wolfman, Dracula, Creature, all monsters, and especially the classics. And that was part of my motivation. The trigger that actually made all of this start was I was a caricature artist out at the theme parks, and when I moved here in '73, and of course '77 rolls around, and Star Wars hits. When Star Wars hits, it's like a lightning bolt for me. I'm sitting in the movie theater literally the whole summer constantly watching it over and over and over. The thing that got me the most was the Cantina bar scene. And I saw all those aliens, and I'm like, man, I'd love to make that stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's really the trigger that got me started trying to learn it. Because back then, you didn't have YouTube, you didn't have tutorials, you didn't have books on it. There was nothing here. We were a vast wasteland when it came to that kind of film work. It just wasn't here because we didn't have film work here. So my first film, actually where I employed some of the techniques I was learning, was on a film called Alien Dead, of all things. It was shot here in Orlando, and it starred an old guy, old school movie star by the name of Buster Crabbe. I don't know if you remember him or even heard of Buster Crabbe, but he was... It
was always a punchline for a joke, Alan. I'm just going to be honest with you. Old Buster Crabbe, I was like, hardly knew her.
I'm Buster Crabbe.
In fact, I have a feeling Tom's going to start dressing me as Buster Crabbe, and you're going to have to make a crab outfit for me.
That's the best old-timey actor name I've ever heard.
It was great. Now, what had happened?
Here's a little picture from Alien Dead. I've got it up on our screen here. 1980. It was a horror movie, a Horror and Sons. You can find it. There's a sheriff standing next to his deputy in what appears to be the Florida swamp. There he is.
And is he standing there? Are they wrestling with a zombie?
Not yet. There's yeah. Okay, there is some there. Okay.
We see the zombie faces.
Yeah, here we go. I got some zombie faces.
Yeah, I did all the zombie faces, and I played a zombie in the film.
Well, I've got you up on camera right now. I've got a giant, disgusting zombie face up on the screen. That's crazy, man.
And so, Alan, is that how it started with like makeup and effects?
Yeah, I was I was doing caricatures out at Circus World. Whoa. And so I was driving back and forth. I lived in Pine Hills at the time. And so, after I saw the movie, I started fishing around trying to find materials to learn how to do this. So basically, I taught myself how to make prosthetics and how to make Halloween masks and creatures and things. But after a while, my wife looks at this wall full of stuff, and she goes, we got to figure out a way to sell this stuff because we can't eat rubber, So I started marketing the stuff through a wholesale guide. But in the meantime, in like 79, 80, I teamed up with a guy here that had a costume shop, and he was looking for something to do in the off seasons because Christmas, Easter, and Halloween were the only things for him being a costume shop.
Yeah.
So we came up with the idea of designing a line of masks, and we did those for a while. And then we jumped onto the mascot bandwagon. Back then, there wasn't a whole lot going on. The most famous mascot was the San Diego Chicken, Ted Giannoulis. And, he was the guy. Everybody looked at him for the whole mascot thing at the time. And so I started building mascots through there. But in between all of that, I was doing films and commercials. There was a film shot in Orlando called Daryl. It's about a little kid with a computer brain. And
I know that guy. I work with him right now. Yeah, and it's terrible. If this guy had an ounce of empathy, it'd be. I'm joking.
But that's kind of how I was doing it. I'd go to work, make mascots. I'd come back home, my home studio, and I'd be working, on different things. And even before the claw thing happened, I worked on the TV show The Adventures of Superboy.
What?
Out at Universal. Yeah, I was building kryptonite, exploding bodies.
That's neat, man. Alan, we wanted to talk to you. Obviously, you've been a white whale for a minute, and we're talking to you about costume building. But knowing that you had all these other jobs, it sounds like costume building may have been the passion, and all these other jobs were, building kryptonite for a Superboy show is pretty cool.
Well, that was the thing. I was really wanting to stay in that world, but I needed a real job. So
Gotcha.
I made my own job, basically, by going and getting together with this guy and say, hey, let's make some mascots. So that's what we were doing there. And in 82, I was doing Daryl. In 84, I was an instructor at Ringling Brothers Clown College down in Sarasota briefly. I taught the clowns how to custom make their own noses. And then I was back up here working with a company called Creative Engineering. You've heard that?
Wait, that's Alan Fector, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was briefly there, and some of my design techniques actually they incorporated eventually.
That would have been Showbiz Pizza, your animatronics, your Rocket Fire Explosion, that sort of stuff.
I actually predated Rocket Fire Explosion. We had a bear band called the Bear Country Jubilee.
Oh, okay. Very similar, but not quite. I like that.
Yeah.
I like it. We're calling it a jamboree.
We're calling it a jubilee.
And we'll steal it.
That is awesome.
So, I was still doing that. That's when I was starting to learn the mask thing. And then in 79, like I said, I mentioned Buster Crabbe. What happened there was the guy directing that worked for Channel 6. And the mask, he had this zombie mask that had gotten stolen. Somebody broke into his house and stole this thing. Now, it sounded to me like a publicity stunt, quite honestly, but here it was. It was in the newspaper. And when they mentioned Buster Crabbe, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to contact this guy and see if I can, help him out with his movie. And that way I get my foot in the door.
There you go.
Well, there is a little subtext to that. Buster Crabbe was a distant cousin of mine.
And Tom was saying terrible things about Buster not even 5 minutes ago.
Hold on, Alan.
Horrible jokes about him.
So Buster Crabbe was a distant cousin. You had no idea?
No, I grew up all my life. My grandfather had told me about Buster ever since I was a little kid. So here was an opportunity
You're
to
a
meet
crab.
this famous dude. I mean, he was a Buck Rogers. He was Flash Gordon. He was Tarzan. He was an Olympic gold medalist swimmer. That guy was amazing. And, to get to work with my first film, I get to work with Buster Crabbe. I thought it was cool. So, I was kind of fanboying out, to be honest with you.
Tom, you're kind of a Buster Crab. Have you ever seen Buster Crab? You're very Buster Crab.
Well, it's interesting.
Look at that. You have the body of a young, but you look like Buster. My business partner looks like Buster Crab.
It's interesting that he's.
Oh my God, you look exactly. I'm going to start calling you Buster Crab.
Olympic gold medalist swimmer, and then he ends up getting into acting, and then he's playing Tarzan and all these.
That happened a lot. What was it? Johnny Weissmuscle,
Weissmuller, yeah.
Weissmuller, yeah. That guy was all your muscle men would go on to be actors because everyone else was too skinny. We hadn't reached our fat then. That wasn't. We weren't fat then.
Yeah. Like if you had muscle, you were an anomaly. You're like, whoa, this guy.
Yeah.
He's a Superman.
Like George Reeves from Superman. Yeah.
Now, even one other film I worked on that predated the Predators was around between 89 and 91. I also worked on a film called Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Yes.
And Alan, that's what I remember when we used to talk in the Predators days. Alan told me, he's like, hey,
Did you build the rhino anus?
No.
I wish I had gotten that gig. I got the first film where he beat up the eagle at the end of the film.
Oh, that's
mine.
Yeah.
You made the eagle?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I remember when he told me that, I was like, Alan, that is my...
That's peak Miami history.
I'm like, I used to watch Ace Ventura over and over in my mom's Scooby-Doo van on VHS tape. She had a conversion van, a big white conversion van.
And you got the Zenith in the top.
Yeah, the Zenith. And he said, watch Ace Ventura as a teen boy.
It's a top loader.
And then he fighting the eagle, and he did the uppercut, and I was like, and then Alan told me, he's like, I made that eagle. I'm like, what? And blew my mind.
I also want to pause the show for a second and say that the chat room is yelling at us for not having Alan on sooner because this guy's got so many stories, and the chat room's like, oh, great job. You waited until the 20th year of Weird Job to get Alan on.
I've had his telephone number for 30 years. Then it just dawned on me last week. I was like, we should start calling people on my cell phone.
That is true, Alan. He yells. He's like, do you think Claude would do it? I was like, man, that'd be an awesome
All
one.
it took was one text, and Claude's like, ready to go whenever you're ready.
Okay, let's jump back to when did you and your partner decide, or do you remember your first mascot? Because the idea of building something, they're very expensive, they're handmade. I mean, how do you go about making your first one, and how do you price it and sort of that sort of thing?
Well, that was really kind of a challenge, but as luck would have it, it was around Christmas time, and somebody was looking for an elf costume. And I know it doesn't really translate well into a mascot, but you had to know what the original Disney Seven Dwarfs looked like. The original costumes were these big heads with these little hands that were operated by sticks. So they made them look really short and small, but they were wide. And so we kind of built one of those types. And it was very rudimentary at the time because, once again, I was still learning about special effects makeup and all the materials and tools needed to do that. So I started to apply some of my knowledge I was learning as I went into the mascot field. So, they all started with sculptures, made plaster molds, poured rubber in them to create the faces. And, it became far more technical than I even realized as I went on because everybody, you're trying to get that competitive edge on the next mascot builder. What's he got in his heads that we don't have?
Are you like Tom and I, where if a client comes to you and says, hey, can you do it? Do you just say yes without even knowing if you can do it or not?
No, actually, I turned down the Olympic Committee back in the 90s. They presented me with a design. And this thing was so bad that I just said, I'm sorry, I don't want to do this. And they're like...
For the Olympics?
And the reason I did, quite honestly, it was just a horrible design. It was the very first mascot ever designed by computer. And it was called, in the 90s, I don't know if you even recall this character, he was called What Is It? And that really
all one word, right? All one word?
What is it? Yeah, and short, Izzy for short.
Yeah, I remember this.
And everybody that saw it started calling it the Big Blue Sperm.
Yeah,
it was just a bad design. And they got very upset and indignant that I didn't like their design. And I'm like, if I'm going to build a mascot and it's going to be on the world stage, I want it to be something that is cool. You
Yeah.
know, I want people to look at it and remember it, and not for being laughable.
Right,
you know,
right,
and
right.
made fun of. And I just couldn't bring myself to do it, but that was one of the big ones.
Well, hold
that,
on.
we turned down.
Alan.
He's got integrity in
It's
his
a-
work, Tom.
well-
Unlike you'll just build anything. He'll build any blue sperm.
Look, I will say this, guys. I'm not beneath building a 7-foot giant penis for Halloween one year.
Okay, all right, that's fine. That's okay. That's what Tom wanted
But
to
he
hear.
knows. But you're right with the Olympics. Why not make the Olympic rings like ringy? Like it doesn't make any sense.
Somebody tried too hard. It's way too hard.
It's just a blue water droplet with eyes.
You know what it should be
Stupid.
every year? A flame. There you go. Boom.
Yeah.
It's
Make it
just
a torch.
Every year it's a torch.
A giant torch.
Yeah, and then when it's from Spain, it's a Spanish torch. You know, North American torch.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
Exactly.
it's just a stupid idea that some marketing company came up with, and I'm sure the United States government paid them way too much money for.
$100K. How many mascots do you think you've made, Alan?
Oh my God. Well, I started in '79. You know, I mean, our shop was literally right across the street from the Winter Park sinkhole.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying.
We were actually in that building working across the street when that thing started to go. And
Swallowed
we were
up
freaking
some
out.
of my mascots.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
remember when the Winter Park sinkhole happened?
Oh yeah, I was there, dude.
And then did you run over there? You're like, whoa, what about?
Yeah, but he was dressed in a crazy costume. They're like, what the hell's happening?
Actually, we kind of went out there and watched these exotic cars go into the hole.
Oh,
You
that-
watched the cars?
That's what Spanish people do in Miami when the roads fall in, and they're so dangerous, but they'll stand on the edge because they're brave.
Well, it was kind of wild. They ended up shutting our street down for 3 months. It really hurt the business, but as far as tourism, man, it was bigger than Disney. People were coming from everywhere to see that giant hole, and it was when they were trying to crane some of those cars out. It was this one particular guy just wanted to leave his Porsche in there. And as what we ended up hearing was it was a mule car, and it apparently had some substances in it.
Hold on. There's a Porsche with cocaine in the back of the trunk.
We got to get that.
It's still there. I can dive that.
Yeah, it could have just been lewds. There's a whole bunch of lewds.
It was crazy. It was a very unusual time while we were building this stuff, which kind of forced us to move out into a warehouse off of Forsyth Road, and that's where I continued all the building of the mascot stuff.
So
And
Alan, I'm curious to who started the tradition where, because it seems like all mascots have a certain look, which they start with a giant head, and then the body is kind of it's all about the head. And has that always been a tradition in team mascots?
Well, I tell you, there's, I think, personally, that it may have, the concepts may have erupted from something totally off the wall. And I've seen very, very, very old mascots that looked scary as heck. They looked more realistic than they did anything. But the mascots that we have now, that we know and love, all have this big head, like you said. But if you think about it, in the early, I would say 50s, I believe probably it started, was the development of bobbleheads in Major League Baseball. They had the bobbleheads, and they always had the small bodies with the big bobbly heads on them. That's probably where the concept and the idea came from.
I think he's right because, we can do a little more. We can put a little more clay on fleshing out this idea. Whenever you see the mascot races, traditionally in baseball, the mascots are big bobbleheads, skinny body, and they always fall over. It's hilariously funny and been going on for hundreds of years. Also, there were certain parades that happened at, I'm talking old, where you would have, like dictators. Like they would make the ruler or the dictator of the time, and at a sort of a fun joke for his birthday or whatever, he'd have his head sculpted to be funny, but then it'd be a funny body, and then they'd be dancing through the streets, almost a celebration of the great leader.
Well, even caricatures, which Alan did, I always have a big exaggerated head.
Sure.
Is that kind of,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And most of them back then were made out of paper mache.
Sure.
Because that was just the technology of the time. Nowadays, it's all kinds of high-tech materials. You can put fans in them. You can do all these things. I just finished a mascot for NASCAR just recently, just before the 500. And, we talked about, putting fans and stuff like that in them. So, yeah. I mean, some of my mascots
Yeah, you
have
can't
been
fit any NASCAR fan in anything you build. I'm sorry.
Not the lower half.
Yeah, sorry. No, just the head. Just the head.
So, Al, I'm curious. Like, people don't realize how much a mascot costume costs. I remember.
Also, this was my big thing. I don't think they think it's handmade. It's handmade.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
give us an idea of what a high-end mascot costume would cost. Like, let's just say a professional sports team
Big
or
boy.
college team.
Yeah.
Or
FIFA comes in and says, "Hey, we need a soccer ball." What are you charging them?
Well, it's the going rate usually. And now, high schools and junior highs, I have to make an exception because they don't have the budget.
Yeah,
sure.
So I work around their budgets for them. But they usually start at about $5,000, and then they go up from there. I've been involved in redesigning and developing a costume that was worth $250,000.
wow.
So
Jesus, Alan.
Did it have a bunch of tech in it? Because I know, the Disney costumes, now they're incorporating where they could talk and their eyes can blink.
Moving mouth Mickey Mouse is so secretive that you very rarely see him, and he's been put out and pulled back so many times because of secret new developments and things that went wrong. Yeah, it's super secret tech.
Yeah, there's a lot of servos, remote controls, things like that involved. Sometimes there's special padding inside. This particular costume I was talking about was a gorilla, a Hollywood-style gorilla.
Whoa.
And, the fur alone was extremely expensive because it's built on spandex, and the body was specially padded. The mouth had servos. You actually looked through the gorilla's eyes, and the eyes had blinking mechanisms and the whole deal. Very complex, very difficult to wear, very uncomfortable. Mascots are not designed for that. You have to design it around some sort of, common technology that allows them to breathe,
Sure.
to see, and all of those things. Because, quite honestly, you can reach temperatures of 130 degrees inside those things.
Yeah.
And even mine, when I was running around in claw, it would drip out from the bottom of the chin, but it wasn't sweat. It was actually condensation from the heat coming off of my head.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
it's hot as hell in there.
Well, there was a time when we went to Vegas for one of the arena bowls, and I was in the costume in Vegas from 8:30 in the morning till 6 that night, and it was 114 degrees that day.
God.
And it was brutal.
Oh, I bet. You don't need to do that, though. Just for it's arena football, Claw, and I appreciate your dedication. But
How was that arena bowl?
Yeah, at the end of the day.
So Alan, let's talk about the Predators for a second, because as I look back,
Are you both still owners now? You and Alan?
Well, I look back at the Bushy days and my involvement in the Predators, and a unique thing happened that I've never even seen happen, and I don't think will ever happen again.
It was a McMillionaire's addiction to another man.
Where the owner was crazy as lady, and then because of this partnership with the radio station and me and him letting me do these halftime shows,
he knew he could get extra commercials by partnering up with you.
But also the absurdity of the S that I did during those days, and the halftime shows, and the ridiculousness of involving.
Awesome.
Alan would be involved sometimes, of course. When I got married,
bad when you would ask Alan to do stuff. I always felt bad. Like, leave Alan
because he was a pro. I used to talk to Alan. I'd be like, dude, I'm sorry.
Nice man.
But what are some of the more ridiculous things you remember being involved in? I remember that when we brought all the the stormtroopers on the field and the football players are bullying them. One of the players stole one of the stormtroopers' guns and
ripped one of their necklaces off.
Little people had motorcycles. I mean, it was
then
absurd.
We had a whippet, which is a tiny looking little greyhound dog that was just crapping all over the field.
Well, there was, Claw rode a horse out once. I don't know if you ever saw that.
No.
But we were playing the Rattlers, and it was a Western theme. And what happened basically was, Claw's on the horse, and they spent a whole week getting the horse used to gunfire because we were going to fire blanks out there on the field. And,
it was a different time. Like, I just want to clarify that you could not go to a football game and the people are on the field shooting guns in the air. You can't do that.
It's pre-rust.
Oh, we did,
it was probably a real gun with a blank, right?
It was a real gun with a blank, correct.
Where's the armorer?
It all led up to some weird things. Now, once again, the horse is acclimated to the gun. What they didn't acclimate the horse to was the fact that we were using dry ice fog. So the fog starts filling up the end zone, up about 2 feet high.
And the horse thinks it's in a cemetery.
He thinks it's a solid. He sees it as solid. So he starts spinning in the tunnel.
And you start firing your gun. This is epic awesome, dude.
So the horse is spinning around because it thinks it can't get through the fog.
Oh, my God.
Right. So now it finally gets out onto the field, and Claw fires up into the rafters. We had a CPR dummy dressed as one of the Western guys from the Rattlers and chucked it over the side. And when it fell, it hit the floor and busted into like 12 pieces. And people gasped.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you pretended to shoot someone off of a wild horse.
And he fell from the rafters all the way to the floor. It was something to see.
Alan, that is good. That's awesome.
See, this is something nobody will ever experience because now everybody's paranoid about lawsuits. Like, it was the wild,
Wild West.
We just did whatever we wanted. Because, I remember talking to...
I knew all the security guards at the old Amway. I just come and go as I please.
I was climbing up into the rafters, doing whatever I wanted. Like, hey, what can we do for the halftime show? Like, there's no one we had to check with. It was just like, go do whatever you want. It was crazy.
We drove tanks out there. We drove all kinds of crazy cars out on the field.
I mean, I don't know if you remember, we had a deal going, a sponsorship with Universal at one time. And we did a pregame. Claw was doing pregame videos all over the place. And we did one where we were at the Jaws ride in Universal, and I had the cheerleaders and some of the fan club members were in the boat with me, and I'm taking on Jaws, and then it cuts from the jumbotron down to the floor, and Universal had a rolling radio station, and it was a 4x4 mechanical shark. It was cool.
I remember
and actually, I mean, I don't know where that thing is, but that was one of the coolest things I've ever been involved with. Because the side opened up and I just jump out and I had the ball with me. One time I made it look like I was fishing and I had a big pole and pulled him out. The thing is awesome because it rocked side to side and it shot flames out of the exhaust and it belched, which was crazy.
We got to find that because I feel like that's something that the three of us could pool our money and buy. For Orlando.
Well, it was a functioning radio station inside. So, I mean, that thing's so cool. I don't know where it is.
It might be the last functioning radio station. Most of them are gone. I don't know if you know this, Alan.
Alan, no.
The chat room, by the way, I just want to give you some love. The chat room is loving you. I cannot believe that you've had this much to do. And man, I feel bad that we waited this long to call him.
Well, we need to talk to you again, Alan.
We got to get him in here. Maybe he can bring in some of his art. Because it is art. It's incredible. You built the monster. Didn't you build Jake for the monsters?
I built Jake, and I built a little Jake for.
I remember that.
Too.
You built little Jake as well. He can.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you need a mascot, this is a guy that can do it.
Yeah.
Now it's going to cost you, but he can do it.
Are you still doing it, Alan?
Oh, yeah. I mean, right now I've got 2 clients that we're working up on at this time. So, yeah, I mean, I'm still out doing stuff. I don't do the special effects stuff that much anymore because, quite honestly, there's just not a lot going on here. But
sure.
Back in, like I said, in that span in the 80s, what used to happen is we used to rent out our pyro licenses to rock groups. And basically what that was is when rock groups came into town, they didn't have time to go to the marshals and get permits and insurance and all those things. So they would hire us to oversee everything and use our permits. And
so it's
that's
like buying
how
a license, like if you rent your liquor license from like Will's Pub.
No, okay, yeah.
Right.
I didn't know you did that. That's neat. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. So it put me in a position to go backstage on the Ultimate Sin tour with Ozzy Osbourne. So
that's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Did you get to talk to Ozzy? How was he?
He was interesting because he came back with his lead guitarist was Jakey Lee at the time.
Yep, Jakey Lee.
And they come walking back for the sound check, and we're rigging pyro and doing stuff. And prior to this, I knew I was going to be there. I knew I was going to get a chance, perhaps, to meet Ozzy. So I sculpted and designed a Freddy Krueger T-shirt that was 3D. In other words, it looked like Freddy was ripping right out of your chest. And it was all blood spattered and the whole thing, and I made sure he got that prior to me bumping into him. And so I walked up, and I told him who I was, and he goes, "Oh, you're the bloke that did the show?" Yeah. So we're talking. I want to talk rock. Sure. And he wants laundry tips on how to clean the friggin' shirt.
Yeah. That sounds like Ozzy. Yeah, you want to talk about Bark of the Moon? He's done that for forever. I want to talk about how to keep this shirt right. I want to mess up the shirt that you made out of. That's incredible, man. Like,
I mean, those are the kind of things that we found ourselves doing. I mean, I also got Secret Service clearance to fire pyro around President Reagan at one time.
Whoa!
And I played a bank robber in Unsolved Mysteries. And
hold on, you're burning all your bits, man. Hold on, I got at least 20 more years of radio, Alan. Good God, man.
Well, we got stuff to talk about, guys.
We are so boring. Yeah. My God, we're boring.
Well, Alan, we'll definitely have you in again to talk to you and tell some stories. But before we go, I want to talk about March 21st, 2007, the day that Alan and Claw married me and my wife. By the way, which I'm sure when you were doing it that day, you're like, there's no way these rednecks are going to be still married in 18 years.
I feel like Claw loves love.
But I want to let you know we're still married, Alan.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
I would say that a marriage built on goof is stronger. And every March 21st, we remember, because that's when because Bushy made us legally get married, because if you remember, what's his name? Crazy. Molested in Hollywood, Michael Jackson. Molested Hollywood, Michael Jackson. Fedora.
Why am I
why can't I get it? Fedora, Michael Jackson, ponytail, dances like Michael Jackson, molestation. Corey Feldman.
Yes.
Corey Feldman.
Was there, and he signed our marriage certificate, and some notary made it. Like Bushy is standing, he's like, you make him sign the certificate. I'm mailing it myself. Anyway, so we're legally married in Orange County from that day, and Claw was out there, and he was overseeing everything.
He was the officiant,
and
Corey was the witness, and it holds strong.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah. It was a marriage forged in the fires of goof.
Claw, did you ever have any altercation out of all those years of the Arena Bowl or all the arena games and stuff, like some drunk redneck,
some redneck pulling your braids?
Yeah.
Well, if you notice, Claw didn't look. He just wasn't friendly looking, and that's one of the reasons why I chose, when I developed this character, I didn't ask for permission. I just talked. I talked to the fans in costume, which is usually a no-no for most people. But I swore to myself, I'm not going to frighten a child. So that's what I did. Now, when I greeted a child, the pitch of my voice changed. It got higher. And when I met women, it got very,
Very
white.
horny.
Very,
Look at
very
those
white.
big. Look, fake left, fake right. Predator.
Exactly.
That's my favorite billboard they ever did. Big boobies on the billboard, fake left, fake right. Oh, so good.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's the thing. It was the way I designed it that way. I just felt it was
Because you
necessary.
cared, though, man, and I think that's probably why you're still doing it to this day. Is you give a damn about it, and you care, and you've always been a good person. You're always good to me and Tom. And before we run out of time, hey, thank you for doing this. We'll get you back in again because we are going to run out. We are out of time. Actually.
I appreciate hanging with you guys, man. It's a lot of fun all the time.
We want to do it again, but
I'll text you, Alan. I appreciate it. Thanks for doing this. And man, I forgot how much fun. I mean, because me and Alan I remember behind the scenes.
He's one of your only allies backstage, man.
Under the arena, we shoot the ass all the time.
Yeah.
Brothers in sweat.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, be well, man. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Hey, take care, fellas.
All right, man. Be good. Oh my God, that's good. I'm gonna give that one an award for the year.
Yeah.
And it's only April, March?
Yeah. I remember how mad Bushy was. He's like, he owns everything. He owns the name and the likeness.
And when you told me that, it made me love him so much more. I was like, this man's a smart man.
And he's like, we can't get rid of him because the audience likes him
They
so much.
love him.
He's like, we want to try to switch it out and
They tried to phase him out, but the listeners or the viewers of the games,
the fans,
where the hell's Claude? I'll get him out there.
All right, we will see you tomorrow. Welcome to Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. Let's not waste any time. We have a very special guest, and he looks like he's in the middle of traversing. He's out and about.
He's going to be at the Florida Theater in Jacksonville on May 2nd, and also the Barbara Mann Performing Arts Hall in Fort Myers, May 3rd. You can get your tickets at marlonwaynes.com, and on Zoom with us is Marlon Waynes. How you doing, Marlon?
I'm good, man. Life is good. I'm on my morning walk. Just had me a green juice. So I'm a poo real good today.
I love it. You got to get the green juice in, get you going. Hey, man.
When you get over 50, all you want to do is take the right poo to start your day.
You're over 50? It blows my mind every
don't
time.
say that.
52, man.
What?
52? Yeah, it's been a minute since we talked to you. We were going to okay. We had done so much research, and we were so excited because these hurricanes came into Florida. We were going to get to talk to you, and then was it right after he had been on Club Shay Shay?
I think, you had to cancel your Florida gigs because of our damn hurricanes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I sure did.
And but then that thing blew up like a vehicle. Like that was one of the biggest online things I'd ever seen.
So, Marlon.
I know when he gets this $100 million deal, he owes me 10%.
So, Marlon, that's what I wanted to talk to you. You've been doing this a long time. You've done a lot of media. I mean, you're doing it right now. You all know how it goes. You do hundreds of these shows. It never moves the needle. Tom and Dan will sell you a couple tickets.
We move a couple needles.
But when you do Club Shay Shay, do you feel the needle move right after? You're like, whoa, this was big.
Well, no. It's funny. I'm so busy working that I don't know when something hits. Because I care about the work. I don't care about what the results are. I never do anything for results. I just do it because I love the work. Okay. And so, I looked up after that, and then I got I got an award for BT and for NAACP, and all these great things just started happening, and I was just like, and it's funny because I'm so used to doing the work that I don't care. I'm just doing the work, and. So, I've got this Jordan Peele movie coming out, and I'm like, oh my God, I got that coming out in September. I got all this stuff happening, and I don't know because I'm just doing the work.
Well, they kind of announced that around the same time, so I kind of feel like the Club Shay Shay deal, Monkey Paw, all of that was being announced at the same time. We got a little taste of the movie. The movie's now coming out in September. Now we got announced. Yeah. I didn't even know this until, your people told us that there's a new scary movie film. I mean, damn, man, how do you find the time?
You make the time. I dated a girl once, and she was like, I was like, I don't have time. She was like, you make the time. It's your time. You're 24 hours in a day. You have, so many seconds and minutes. And what are you going to put your energy toward? And I was like, oh, wow, that's great. And me and her didn't make it because she wanted too much time. So,
Well, she probably just wanted a reasonable amount of time, Marlon.
That's like a Chinese
so
parrot.
Hold on, Marlon.
and I'm going to work more.
Let me defend her for a second. She probably just wanted a normal human couple's amount of time,
She's
right?
got like the comedian Black Superman is going crazy. He's doing everything in every direction.
Yeah. You're working so much, Marlon. And listen, every time you come on the show, we always talk about how you're a workaholic and how much you do.
Well, we love that. It's inspiring to us because we do it too.
Yeah, and
not as well.
But you love your job. You're not working. You're just having fun, man. You got to remember, we're blessed to. I'm blessed that I'm not mining for coal. I'm not
right.
Yes. I'm not risking my life fighting fires. There's people like I think comedians and entertainers, we get paid too much. I feel like the people that save lives, policemen and firemen, soldiers, they need to get paid more.
Yeah, but Marlon, we're entertaining them. You see, like we're the real heroes. You see,
that's why the money needs to come to us. I agree.
I mean, they're putting out the fires, but we're making them laugh. You see?
Starting them.
Yes.
What's a fire? We start the fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't want to see how grumpy a fireman is if there are no scary movies. You know what I mean? Like that's gotta.
You feel me? You're right. You're right.
So, Marlon, I know you're working all the time. You don't have time to notice whether something's blowing up or not. But do you feel it on your social? You have to feel like people must text you, like you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden you do something, and then all of a sudden your social is blowing up. You're getting a lot more texts, and like so you must have some barometer, right?
No, you know what I am starting to see is, wow, your range is crazy. That's what I'm starting to hear. Finally, people are biting down on my range,
yes,
and my abilities, and of what over the years, I've just done the work. And so I've done the work with so much passion and effort that now things are becoming easier for me. And the audience is like, wow, there's not many people that have that kind of range that could go from like Little Man to Requiem for a Dream, from White Chicks to him. Like, it's like, who are you?
Yeah.
And it's just, that's the way I've designed myself. I've always been a guy that I always wanted to do everything. I wanted to do comedy. I want to do stand-up. I want to do sketch. I want to do parody. I want to do action. I want to do drama. I want to do romance. I want to do it all. But the key is, that I'm doing what I love, and I'm excelling at it. How are you doing, baby?
Good. How are you?
Hey, Dougie. How you doing? Come on, all right. I'm good. I'm on the interview. Good to see you.
Hello.
Come on.
Hi, we don't matter.
Sorry, guys.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. I think that's even cool. It's cool to be like a little slice of life.
She edited my specials.
Oh, right on. That's very cool.
So she sees me on my morning walk, and so I give her a hug.
Yeah, everybody's basically agreeing that the range thing, the aspect of the range, very difficult for you to break into the more serious aspect, or no? Was that easy?
That's easier for me. Drama, I got pain. I got things to cry about. Comedy's hard. How do I take this thing that broke me and make people laugh at me and laugh at the pain and find the funny? That's hard.
Yeah, I was about to say, Marlon, is that I believe like being a comedic actor is way harder than doing drama. Like,
it's desperate. You got to be funny. You know how hard it is to be funny?
Yeah.
Robert De Niro is a great actor. I don't know if he did an hour of stand-up. Am I going to laugh at that?
Yeah, I don't think he will.
But Eddie Murphy can make you laugh, and then he does drama, and you're like, oh, wow, that was amazing. Because, same thing with guys like Robin Williams, Jim Carrey. As a comedian, you are, you're always vulnerable. You're always a fool. You allow yourself and allow the audience into your world and into your heart. And we extract the pain and go, here's what's funny about this. But it's not till you get older, or my assistant just called me. Sorry. Came to get me because now I got a meeting. And she's like, I'm going to go looking for you because you're on your morning walk. I got to get you to your interview.
Yeah.
So But drama, you got to take. Hold on, my assistant, she's a black woman, and she has her car on black people. It is so hot in here. It's why? What is going? You okay? It is on Africa. She got the what's that called? Thermostat set to slavery. So for comedians, it's easier for us to do drama because we don't have to worry about jokes. So now we get to focus on all that stuff that hurt us that we never got to pay attention to because we locked into a safe because all we wanted to do was extract the funny. And what's funny about it? And we took all the pulp and we put that away. But when you asked us to open that up and recycle that into what we really felt about the experience, yeah, there's a lot of real trauma and drama in that's going to be, wonderful.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, Marlon, and it's the amount of work you're doing is a testament to how talented you are, and also I gotta say I agree with your last girlfriend. You're doing too much. You're on your morning walk doing a Zoom interview with us, and
I'm headed to another meeting.
I mean, it's too
and
much.
his management pulls up in a hot car. They're like, jump in this Africa car. We gotta make you more money, man.
You don't have to do this everything, you
guys know me, I love it. I love what I do.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, you've been on the only person that's been on our show more than you is Guy Torrey. It's the only person, truly, it's the only comedian.
Guy, he lives down there. He has no excuse. He's always down there smoking a cigar. Y'all let him smoke inside that nice office you guys got. I wanted to steal your office for a long time.
Yeah. Well, we'll let you have it, man. Hey, thank you for the time.
I think I was your first guest. I think I was your first real guest.
First week. Yes, it was the first week.
I think that was your first real guest. I broke y'all virginity. I popped y'all's little cherries.
You did.
Hold on. John Lovitz was in here right before he...
John Lovitz.
But you didn't really feel it with John Lovitz. Yeah, I made an impact.
No. But he had a little dog and he peed on our couch. It's fine.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
and
fine.
I sat in that space. Damn that dog.
Other side. Hey, 2 shows in Florida, and we know you got your tickets already. Florida Theater in Jacksonville, May 2nd, 8 p.m. You can get your tickets at marlonwaynes.com. Also, Barbara B. Mann Performing Arts Hall in Fort Myers on the 3rd at 8 p.m.
Thank you, Marlon. We appreciate it, man.
Hey, thank you guys, man. Great seeing you. One day I've been asking you, what's y'all's podcast setup for the longest time? I'm going to get you. Hey, can we get their number? Because I'm actually because I'm me and my brothers. I'm actually going to do a podcast.
We got you.
But I don't want to just give it to. We're going to own it. I want to do it and if I'm gonna do it, it's gonna be mine. I'm not gonna. Sorry.
We do it right.
Yeah. We will let you listen. Once Shannon Sharp got that 100 million,
Shannon Sharp can do a podcast. He can barely talk. And he can do one.
100 million. Marlon, he made 5 times more than he did playing NFL. And he's the NFL Hall of Famer.
He's a much better athlete than he is a speaker. I haven't done word than the last 10 years. After the interview, I need a translator.
100 million, Marlon.
That's so insanely mean and accurate.
I love when white guys get jealous. I love it.
I'm just saying. Anyway.
The audacity.
All right, man. Hey, have a good meeting, okay?
Love, man.
Love right now. See you, dude. That's a nice guy.
Yeah. Marlon's always great.
Yeah, he's hilarious. Why does he talk to us when he's that rich? He don't need to talk to us.
Yeah, he's been in here a bunch of times. He's been coming here for.
He has a good relationship with us. We do. We're
9-10 years. I think he went to the old studio in your house.
He did.
But so back to the
he did. But he was. It's weird. He also has one of those memories that. Well, let's talk on this for just a second. That guy's IQ. He's I think he's secretly one of the smartest people we've ever talked to. Because, and not in a weird way. When you talk to high IQ people and they're weird and you're like, well, I know that guy's a high IQ guy. He doesn't have that. He's cool high IQ guy. But it's very high because he did remember that I think it was the first week we even moved in here. He was our first actual guest. He remembers our names. He remembers that he wants the studio. He remembered that our carpet, the carpet. He remembers he'll write us. He'll hit me up on Instagram and remember things. It's weird.
Yeah, I know. And his publicist was like, "Oh, Marlon wanted to make sure to do your guys' show. He loves you guys."
He didn't need to do that. He's out exercising.
the Shannon Sharp deal, obviously, you just announced he got $100 million, and it's a testament to nowadays media companies cannot take advantage of someone's popularity, right? Because your popularity is free now through the internet, and you can have control of your own popularity. So Shannon Sharp, obviously, super popular guy. He starts this YouTube show, this podcast, Club Shay Shay. People
I hate the name, by the way.
Yeah. But regardless,
for no reason, really. I think he could have done a better name.
Marlon Wayans does Club Shay Shay, and I looked at the views as near 10 million.
Yeah.
So 10 million people. That's what an NBA game gets. You see what I'm saying? And this is a guy, Shannon Sharp, sitting drinking some whiskey, and the whole operation. $5,000.
You know what I'm saying? Williams, you just get one crazy person on.
No, and then obviously people like his interview style. Whatever's not is I
think people like his personality.
His personality, they like how real it is or whatever. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
He's fun.
10 million. You know what I'm saying? The numbers are right underneath the video, and then once you garner that big of an audience and that much popularity, then other media companies that want to obviously buy it and sell the advertising, they have to give you your full value. They cannot undercut you anymore.
Or they can't play.
30 years ago, he would have never known how popular it was, and then someone would have been paying him $500,000 a year, maybe $200,000 a year. You know what I'm saying?
If you're talking like top tier radio talk show host.
Yeah.
Is that the role you're kind of putting him in?
Or something like that.
That'd be about right.
And then it's maybe $1 million, but it's now it's you're getting $10 million or 10 million views on every interview.
But I also feel like
100 million.
But I also feel
100 million.
But I also feel like everything's inflated. And I think of this all the time. Okay.
It's like an NFL deal. That's $100 million based on the length of the contract.
Yeah, but even the views. I mean, everything. The entire thing is all inflated. We'll really never know. When we say it has close to 10 million views, how many of those are I don't even know what that means. I just mean it's a lot.
In fact, I believe that the media company is getting screwed. They'll never be able to recoup that much money. I don't think. Now I could be wrong, and
hold on, you never say that. Hold on, let me write this down.
I've been thinking about the late.
Write this down. Jesse from Odang Hummus is laughing at me. Is he still from Odang? Is that why do we even say that? That was 25 years ago. Hummus is. We don't even have chickpeas anymore.
It's Jesse from TikTok.
Jesse the influencer, Jesse the local business consultant.
Yeah. And
sorry, Jesse.
We'll and we're going to do a whole show.
I don't know. We started talking about business. I saw him behind you.
Yeah. But
I didn't mean to look through you at a real businessman, but
they just gave $100 million to the Kelsey brothers podcast, and then I think Jason Kelsey made more. I mean, Shannon Sharp, he played at a different time, but he made $22 million playing football, right? And of course, like I said, that was before these, teams are worth $5 billion.
Right?
Yeah. And could you imagine telling one of his coaches, even when at the Hall of Fame ceremony, he'll go on to make 5 times this amount on YouTube. People are I'll bet my life against that. That's ridiculous. And it just goes to show you that that's the power of the number underneath the YouTube video. Like you said, whoever how accurate it is, whatever, but
doesn't matter.
It is a number, and that's how media is sold. Because when you have that much viewers, or at least that number under your video, then you can go to Sony and Coca-Cola and Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah.
And then you're I want $5 million a commercial.
For instance, we're on YouTube, barely. We're hanging on there. We're one of the many billions of people that is on YouTube. No one watches. And SJ says a 10 million view video for us would mean $108,000 in revenue.
Yeah. And that not that much for us. Now, obviously, when a media company, they're going to split it and sell it in 20 different ways. The podcast will be sold in every state, and their IP address will be sold with local commercials. Sure. Now they're doing, so then you start breaking it off on all these pieces, and with a big enough team, you can turn it into
as a viewer, I don't like that as much because there was something cool about getting those ads that weren't specific to you that you couldn't buy.
It's old podcasting.
Yeah, I'm an old man. I like that kind of stuff. I like when I get, one of my favorite things about road tripping was listening to weird ads on radio stations. I'm a dumb old man. Uh-oh. Hip replacement. I can hear you.
All right. We'll take a break. We'll be right back with more Corporate Time.